What if the biggest thing holding you back is not a lack of talent, confidence, or opportunity? It is something that people have been praising you for. Today at 518 Reset Podcast, we are going to talk about the hidden cost of being too nice. Are you being too nice out there and not recognizing what it's costing you? Judith and I are going to touch on this topic to see what are some of the things that people have to not recognize when they are being too nice and they have to pay the cost for it. Judith, are you excited? I'm very excited about this topic.
I'm actually very excited because society tells us that kindness is a virtue. But what people don't tell us or society doesn't tell us is that sometimes it can become a burden. The same thing that you see as a virtue can actually really affect you.
So what do you think means to be too nice?
I think that's a great question. What does it really mean to be too nice? Niceness is very good, right? For instance, helping someone, going out of your way to help someone, being kind to your family and friends, to those of us that come from cultures that are very giving, where there's a high expectation on give to your brothers, give to your neighbor, give to your auntie, give to your uncle, give to family members, right? It's a beautiful culture, especially when we meet together, we sit and we laugh and we play and we talk, we visit each other in times of illness. That's good, right? But I think being too nice actually really means you're going outside of your way to help people to the point where it affects you, it affects your health, it affects your mental state, it even affects your finances. Unfortunately, human beings are not. Even the Bible tells us that the heart of man is desperately wicked, right? Sometimes we can get to a point where we overuse someone that's nice. I think that's where we have a problem, right?
Right. So I think there's nothing wrong with being too nice, but I think it becomes a problem when people start taking advantage of you, right?
Yep, unfortunately they will.
Yes. And then people who are too nice, or maybe they're programmed, the way their society or the culture says that maybe women or even men, right? They have to be nice in order for people to, like them or maybe fit in the culture.
Absolutely.
And that really, I think, becomes a problem when, people start misusing your niceness.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, people would misuse your niceness because we all love nice people, right? People
Right.
who would get out of their way to do things for you, get up at midnight to open the door, cook food for you.
Or call them a middle of the night, if
Right.
something breaks in your house and you call somebody nice who's not gonna say no, right?
Who doesn't want to be called a good person?
Right.
Because a good person is someone that's, helps everyone. You're there for everyone. But the only thing that nobody will tell you is that it gets so draining to the point where it affects you physically, even financially and mentally.
But, I just want to know, is this like a something people being too nice, is it like a personality that somebody has? Or is it something that, people are too afraid to say no to someone? Maybe they are too afraid if they say no, they may, somebody may not like them or somebody may not invite them to their house. What do you think?
I think that's very important to think about in the sense that, yes, some people are naturally nice by their nature. They will do anything for another person to feel better or just relieve something or provide a solution. I think it can be natural. It can be in people's nature to be nice, but also society, it could also be earlier you mentioned programming. Society also programs us to be nice, especially women, unfortunately, because the expectation of being too nice most often falls on women. They're very nice men, don't get me wrong.
Right.
And men also feel the burden too, though, because especially the financial burden. So let me restate what I said. The financial expectation of being too nice most often is felt by men, right? Because men have been the
Interesting.
providers. Like when you provide, when you give money to family members and friends and your spouse or your girlfriend or boyfriend, you are considered a very good husband or a very good boyfriend or a very good brother. Financial expectation has often fallen on the man. But
don't think so. It's
Social
like really
expectation.
true. Because I mean, I
It's
look
possible.
at myself. No, I mean, I'm
It's
not saying
possible.
like it's
Shabana,
like
you're not the conventional woman. I mean, you're not the conventional woman in the sense that you are a high achiever, if that makes sense.
or like maybe I'm like financially independent.
You are financially independent. So that's why I'm sorry, I'm shifting you away a little bit from the bucket.
Okay.
But I'm talking about just the way things have been over the last 100 years, right?
Right.
Financial expectations have often fallen on men. So people would consider a good man to be the man that provides financially. And the definition of a good woman is the woman that's there for everyone.
Right.
Socially, culturally, you have to conform to certain cultural norms. You have to help cook for relatives. You have to clean. You have to be nice even when you're
So
insulted.
you just keep doing all the things that everybody would think
to be a good
that
woman.
you are a good woman and
Yes.
you are nice.
Yes.
But what does it cost you to be a nice person if you don't know how to say no?
If you say no, you'll be considered the difficult woman.
Right.
Or the stubborn woman.
Yep.
Or the bad woman. Or the bad man. Or the bad boy. Right? Because people expect you to always say yes. The moment you start saying no, you create problems in the sense that you start being considered difficult. I think it's costly. It's very costly.
Right. And I think like people may not realize that, like having like, that kind of expectation that you have to be nice all the time, and not say no, for, your family, your friends. It's, it's kind of overburdening.
It
right?
is.
It burns you out. So what can we say to our audience or share with our audience to what people can do that, give them the courage to say no when they feel that they're being overused?
I think the first question even is we should really, first of all, like step back to why people are even nice, right? Because if you understand why you're being nice, you can now understand how you can protect yourself with being nice, but not being too nice, right? Because you can be nice without being too nice. Why are we even being too nice? It's that societal expectation. Like,
Right.
That's what people expect you to be.
It could also be that some people may have like low self-esteem and they think that if they say no, they may get judged by other people that they're not nice. But it really, maybe like cost them to not take care of themselves, right? They kind of neglect their own self. And that kind of makes me feel like if you just keep saying yes to all the things just because you want to be liked, you are really losing your own identity, right?
Absolutely.
You're living on the expectations of other people.
Absolutely.
People want you to be nice and you just keep giving them, right?
Yes.
And now you are basically just like losing your own identity.
Yes. Let me give you a small example. I had a friend
Okay.
back in Africa. We used to be really close. Once she asked for help. I sent financial help, of course, right? That expectation that just because you live in the US, you have a stockpile of money to share or distribute, or it's so easy for you that you're supposed to be the one that provides for everyone. I gave help the first time. Second time, I did the same thing. Third time, I still provided help. By the third time, I felt a bit used, right? By the fourth time, I was so out of myself that I just couldn't respond. Because it happened to at a time when I was going through a lot. Then I asked myself, right, why am I being too nice? Because the fourth time, the way the problem came in, it was such, the way it was framed and put to me so I can give money, it was so heart-wrenching that I almost thought of borrowing money to help
To
this
give it
person.
to.
But then I held myself back. And I'm like, why am I doing it? I don't have it.
Right.
Right. They don't have it too. They can as well borrow
Right.
to do it. So I think we're being too nice because of conditioning, right? You feel like just because you are in a position to help other people don't have, you kind of feel guilty too, right? That you have all of these opportunities around you and someone else does not have half of the opportunities that you have. That by that you have to be like some kind of a god to them.
Right. And like, I think this is actually really good because now, like, I just thought of like a, like someone who I had helped a lot every month, right? And I felt like this person is in really need and they could use some help. But the one thing that really kind of like I think like had me sit back and think about was that like I kept like sending money to this person every month because she had her family, her husband had died, right? And the one thing that I didn't like about this person was every month, like she'd only call me or she'd only message me when it was time to send her the money. Like the entire month, she would not
Oh, Lord.
remember anything like, oh, I even exist, right? So like, there was like a time between like maybe like, the first of the month till the 10th of the month. So she already kind of had kind of sensed it because I had helped her like for like a, more than 2 years, right? And every month, like she'd message me, like maybe on the second or the third, hi, how are you? Hope everything is going good. We are struggling with blah, 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 and we can use some money.
Right.
Which like I already was going to send, right? But it's something kind of like, then I kind of sat myself back and I realized that, am I really helping this person to actually, live a fulfilled or like, a life that somebody should be proud of themselves, right? I think sometimes, like, especially when you're being too nice and you're giving because you have, it can also make people lazy. They think that somebody is giving them the money out of like, having empathy toward somebody. So like you're being empathetic, because of their situation, but people don't realize that, if you keep giving them, it make them lazy, right?
It makes them feel
they don't come out.
entitled.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't like, think about, creating their own opportunity and earn money. And I think eventually when like, you keep giving, you drain out, financially
Right.
and like mentally too.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to sit back and reflect on, if you're being too nice,
People will take
is it
advantage of
right?
you.
Are these people taking advantage of you?
And some people feel entitled to your help, right? They think that just because we are brothers and sisters, just because we come from the same village or town or city, or just because we were childhood friends or we were friends at some point, just because we went to college together, just because they feel so entitled to your help that they just ask you like as if they work with you for whatever you have, right? And so they will just ask and feel free.
Or
And
you
even
owe
some
them.
parents will call you and be like, your brother needs help. They need this amount of money, or they're going through this. Go help them.
Yeah.
It's society conditions us, but also some people just take advantage of your friendship status or relationship status to rip you out of whatever you have, to the point where even if you have your own problems, like nobody really cares.
Right.
I had to come to the point where at some point I got so many requests for money that I sat and I looked at my own self. I'm like, I'm also just trying to live.
Right.
Like I can't help everyone, right? I think we have to really start detaching from the notion that we should be nice.
Right.
I mean, niceness is good, don't get me wrong.
Right.
I'm a big believer in what you give leaves, or what you give comes back to you, because I've seen that firsthand. But that doesn't mean that when people are taking advantage of you, or people feel entitled to your resources, that you should allow it. At some point, we really have to create boundaries and start saying no. Because if you keep saying yes and yes and yes and yes and yes, eventually you pay the price financially, physically, even morally.
Right. And I think like you touched on like a really good point, like creating boundaries. I think like having healthy boundaries can actually save you from being burned out for, being too nice.
Right.
And I think being too nice, it doesn't, it not only affects your personal life, but it also can impact your, professional life as well. I mean, at your work, if you're
Right,
just
right.
keep, being nice and just
Right.
keep taking work on and not saying no, eventually it can burn you.
And those
I-
are the hidden costs that no one talks about.
Right.
Right.
And then I feel very overwhelmed. Like, when I'm like just not I just don't know how to say no. And I'm just, okay, maybe like, they need help, and, I'll just keep saying, okay, like, let me try to figure it out, maybe how we can deliver this and that. Eventually, like, I'm burdened with all these things. And then I'm overwhelmed with, so many different tasks. And then I don't even have time to actually get that stuff done. And then, I realized, like, I should have not said yes. Right. But then I think like this could be like, I mean, I look at myself as like, maybe it's just like a habit of like, being too nice. And I think to me, how I am, it's very much like, culturally programmed for me.
And childhood trauma too, right?
Right.
Can create a situation where you want to be so pleasing because you've been rejected or you had a difficult childhood. You want to be accepted. That used to, I went through something similar like that, where I remember my younger sister would always make fun of me because I was the little child, African girl growing up in Cameroon, that if the neighbor needed me to go buy salt for them, they would just call me like, Judith. I'll be like, yes. Can you help me go buy salt? Yes. I kept on taking requests, and my younger sister was stubborn. She would be like, oh, I have things to do. And I will be the one just saying, yes, go buy salt. Yes. Go buy pepper. Yes. I was that
Because
yes
I think like
kid.
when people like you, it's a nice feeling, right?
I wanted to be so liked.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
happens, like, I mean, I sometimes like, I think like, and like you're conditioned, right? I mean, I can see like, everybody kind of think that I'm nice, right? So when like, it's just like automatically, just like you just don't know how to say no.
Right.
Right. But when people praise you for something that you have done for them, it feels good too.
It does.
Right?
And I love
it's
the
very
praise.
Contagious.
I
It's
really used to love the
contagious
praise
that
of-
you just don't
Yeah.
know how to say no.
Yeah.
But I think like, having these healthy boundaries, it's very, very important for people, because otherwise, you'll burn out.
Right.
Like, you actually aren't living the fullest life that you would, somebody would live, because you're living on like, basically, on somebody else's conditions.
Right.
They're keep asking you to do stuff, and you're just
It's
keep doing yes, like, keep doing it. You keep saying yes to it, and you're ignoring your own like, own life, and like, you're not focused on yourself.
And there's also some part of being, I don't know if we should look at this as being nice at workplaces where there are just people who just keep taking work and taking work.
That's
work,
me.
and
I'm telling
like,
you, I always
you
take
say yes
on
to
work.
every single work. I don't know
Yes.
if it's being nice or really just being a good worker, but even
Right.
that too, there's also something that we can term as, don't be too much of a good worker because you get burned out.
Right.
Instead of enjoying your work, you start feeling the burden of everything just falling on you, and you have to take in and take in and take in. Yeah. So
Yeah, I just feel like I'm like a superwoman. Like I can just get it done. And I mean, I do get stuff done too, but I think like sometimes like it's overburdening.
It could be, yes.
Taking too much.
taking too much.
Yeah, we just need to learn to say no.
Yeah, and some of, even going back to some of the hidden cost of being nice that we already mentioned, I can really think about the loss of respect for your boundaries. Because when you're being too nice, I don't even know if you have boundaries in the first place.
Right.
But even when you start creating boundaries, you're going to lose so many friends. I remember someone needed help at some point. I was at work. This person needed their kid to be with me. But that day I was at work, because I've always just said yes to everything they requested. And that day I said I'm at work. I remember when we met again, this person wasn't too happy with me. I could, you know how you can sense it?
Right.
When someone is a bit mad at you, like, how dare you say no to my request? So those are some of the things that you can lose. Like people lose respect for your boundaries.
Right.
Even when you start creating those boundaries, you could also really lose friends, because now you come to a point where you're like, well, my life is also as important as your stuff that you want done. When you start creating those boundaries, you create a really, really difficult relationship with the people that you are with. I think most nice people are people pleasers. I am. To some degree, I'm still a people pleaser.
Right.
It's something I'm still working on.
I mean, I think nothing wrong
So-
with being like,
A people
being
pleaser.
liked by other people and like, people pleaser. But I think like when it start affecting you, right? I think that's when like people should really sit back and reflect on, is it really like, being nice is really adding value to my life, or is it really burning me out and, draining me? I think this is where, like, all of us should really sit back and,
Yeah,
what
let us know what you think. What's your
yes.
experience with being so nice to the point that everyone comes to you for help? Let us know what you think. Have you experienced that situation where a request for help, for money, for all sorts of things becomes so overwhelming that you come to a point where you're like, no, I have to do something? Leave us your comment and let us know what you think. And if this conversation really vibes with you, we call on you to share, like, subscribe, and comment. So, Shabana, let's look at the differences between being nice and being kind, because we're not preaching against people being unkind.
Right.
We're just talking about the hidden cost of being too nice or too people pleasing or too good to the point where you feel burnout.
Right.
So, what are the differences? Being nice versus being kind.
That's a really good question. So the way I'm looking at is being too nice. It's, again, I think like you're just looking at yourself. You're going out of your way to help someone constantly, and you're not getting that back. I think that, to me, I feel like in a friendship, right? If you are being nice and when you are in need, somebody is not giving you the favor back, then you can kind of feel like, where the friendship lands, right? Being kind is like looking at somebody, right? And somebody is maybe not doing well in, in their life, maybe like financially or like whatever might they might be going through. You can try to help them the way you think, somebody you can help them, as a kind person. I think like being too nice is somebody just keep coming to you and asking you for help, and you just keep giving. Takers know how to take, right? And the givers just don't realize that, they're being used. And I think like, kindness basically is just to like, like look at somebody's situation and try to help them how you can. That's how I look at it. Like, being kind, respect people the way they are. That's also kind of goes in the way of like being kind to people. What do you think that being too nice versus kind? What are the difference between these two?
Being nice. I mean, being nice is great, but being too nice is a problem. The difference is you don't have the time. Like, little example, someone asks for help with editing their work. You don't have the time because you're working on finishing a project. Instead of letting them know that you give them a time when you're available to review their work, you immediately drop everything just to go help them. You leave your own thing. Being too nice is really doing it at your own expense, right? Helping someone else at your own expense, at a cost. Being kind is actually, in that situation, is telling them that, oh, I can definitely help you, but today is not a good day. Or now it's not the right time. You give them a time when you can help them, right? You're not dismissing them, but you're doing it at a time that works for both of you. Being too nice is doing it at a time that hurts you. And you can miss opportunities. You could even be fired.
Right.
For instance, let's say you have to go to work and someone else is just being lazy and you abandon your work to go help them. You can miss opportunities. You can miss business, and it can really also affect you. So there's a difference. So we're actually encouraging kindness, but being too nice is not what I think we should be encouraging.
Right.
You know the thing, I would go my way. I will go to the ends of the world to help someone that has been there for me, that has stood with me. But if you're trying to take advantage of me, that's where I would draw the line. Like, no, we all have problems.
But how should people actually recognize that somebody is being used?
How do you recognize you're being used?
Right. Like if you're just nice to someone, right?
When someone is repeatedly asking for help all the times, even you should sit and think that they're being used. There are some people that don't have. It's normal, right? They can ask from the ones that have. But sometimes you also have to sit and think, like, what am I giving this person
Right.
in exchange for all that they've given? And because sometimes even the billionaires don't need money. They just need your support in some way.
Right.
It could be something as simple as nothing that they can remember. Because if you're constantly taking without giving, it's not a good thing, because everybody can give something.
Right.
Even if it's just your time, even if it's just your smile, even if it's just your appreciation. Let me tell you something. I once gave money to someone. They felt like the amount was too small. And so they really didn't thank me. And
Wow.
I sent them money and I called. Did you receive the money? Oh, yes, I did. And I felt like
Like
they're not
you-
being appreciated
Right.
because they expected something more, but I gave small
Right.
based on what I had.
But you could. Yeah.
And they did not appreciate. That's why I'm saying even the person receiving sometimes can give, even if they don't have anything, right? Even the people that you think are the richest of the rich, they need help sometimes. Even your smile, even your thank you
Right.
could change something. Some people also always ask because they feel like they are the victims of the world. Like the worst, like life has dealt so much with me. Every other person is doing so well and I'm doing so terrible, because like they make excuses for why they should keep asking and asking and asking.
Right.
Yeah, some people feel like the victims.
Right. And I think like they make you feel guilty and like
like that.
emotional blackmailing. I
Oh,
think that
is the word.
I have experienced that, just because you're doing good, financially. And I think I know we're just keep kind of like pounding on financial help, but I think there can be so many other things that people are just like keep giving, like their time, right? Their energy. They keep inviting them to their house for lunches and dinners just because they're nice. And, like that's also kind of
Can
like,
you talk a little about the emotional blackmail thing?
Yes. So
And the giving out of guilt.
Right.
Not even out of the fact that you really feel like giving.
I personally just feel like, a lot of time, like I think like a lot of these pastors would come to you, right? And if you don't help, right, they'll make you sound like, oh, you should help. I had one pastor that he had not talked to me for the longest time. I think he had his daughter had gotten married, and they had a huge wedding for the daughter, right? And then pastor maybe overspent. And then right after the wedding, he kept sending me these prayers, and he started calling me and leaving me voicemails. I'm like, all those years, this pastor hasn't reached out to me. And suddenly, he's sending me these prayers. I never really was in touch with him. So I actually didn't help. But for like a little bit, like the way he was leaving me the prayers, I felt kind of guilty that he's a pastor and maybe it's God's voice, who's, reaching out to me. But then at the same time, I'm like, all those years, you didn't reach out to me, and now you overspent, and now you want me to help you, right? And I felt kind of guilty of not helping for a little bit. I used to think about it. So that's kind of like, I think I feel like, people will make you feel guilty.
I think you touched on a topic that's very important, like religious giving. That's something that we don't talk a lot about it, where pastors will go on the pulpit. I mean, I'm a Christian, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean I can't question certain things about Christianity. Pastors go on the pulpit, they would ask for money from their congregation, even from the poorest people. And these people are struggling. And then the worst thing is, I don't know if you have it in your culture, where pastors will be like, you need to sow a seed and ask you for the amount, the specific amount. And I can tell you, I can talk about this with a lot of passion, because I was once in that situation where a pastor was asking for a big amount of money, right? That was twice my monthly salary at the time. And I went to the extent of taking more than I could give just to give it to the church.
Right.
I think that's a very dangerous thing to do.
Right.
And now
I think
that
it's the guilt that a lot of
that
Christian
guilty
people
giving,
or any religion.
that you're supporting the church to build for a project, and they promise you the healing and the blessings of God. I know giving is great, Because they will tell you that this
Yes,
happened to me because I
absolutely.
give sacrificially, because that's the word. Give.
If you have and you can give, yeah,
Does
absolutely.
does
you should
sacrificial
give.
giving involve you going to borrow to give? That's the thing. And if you're in a church that kind of does this kind of thing, you have to use your brain to think. What is sacrificial giving?
Right.
Does God really want you to give to the point of getting into danger
Right.
because you want to give what you have? Give out of the abundance of your heart what you have. If you don't have it, you don't have to give.
Right. Yeah, and I think like we shouldn't really feel guilty. If you don't have it, like you said, don't feel guilty. I think it's important for people to, know when they're being too nice and when they're being kind. And also,
When they're being taken advantage
when
of.
they're being taken advantage of. And if you have been too nice to people and you have been burned out and you feel like there's no boundaries for your friends, your families, your relatives that just keep coming back to you and asking you for your time, your money, and all the things that, burn you out. Think about it. Think, reflect. And if you feel like this is something you are kind of giving yourself too much and going out of your way to please someone, please stop being people pleaser and take care of yourself, because it's important for you to respect yourself first, and then others will respect you. If today's conversation resonated with you, please share it with somebody who can listen to this conversation and maybe can know the difference of being too nice or being kind. Thank you for watching.
Until next time, thank you.
Thank you.